Ebru Ozdemir, who joins us live from Washington, D.C. She is the chairwoman of Limak Investment. Thanks so much for speaking to us. Ebru, here we have a meeting between Trump and Erdoğan, whereby Trump in particular had recently, threatened to destroy Turkey's economy, as he had before, if Turkey doesn't do what the United States deems appropriate. Obviously, the U.S. thinks Turkey's economy is at its mercy somehow. I mean, you tell us how vulnerable you actually think Turkey is to the decisions of U.S. policymakers.
Hello, good morning from Washington. Actually, Turkish economy showed that it has been very resilient. I mean, this has been in the Twitter for some days, already some days now. But since then, the currency rate is stable, the interest rate is coming down, inflation is coming down, and even our growth rate perceptions for next year. The World Bank said 3%, our government said 5%. The demand is there. So I think that there are two things I think it's very obvious, is that I don't think that there's going to be sanctions coming. Second is Turkish economy is more resilient, and it's now more towards the other countries as well, like exporting to the all other countries and doing more business outside, and there's more demand domestically than we should really worry about.
Okay, that's good to hear. But I mean, what do you, as a business person, actually want to see on the agenda for this meeting as far as the U.S.-Turkey trade relationship and business relationship is concerned?
Of course, we don't want to see sanctions, and I think that our president and President Trump has a certain kind of understanding among themselves, and I think that we're very hopeful from this meeting that there's going to be some positive outcome going to happen from the trade side as well. And also, both presidents, as you know, have agreed on a $100 billion trade for the next years. So this is already in the target, and this is already in the agenda of all companies, and this is really very exciting for all the private sector representatives who are already here and who are going to make meetings with the U.S. representative of the other countries. So from the business perspective, we are very optimistic, because there's so much to be done among the companies, between the countries, and also at the third countries as well.
Talk about that optimism then, and what has been your personal business experience then, because the tensions, over the purchase of the S-400, over dropping the F-35 program, and of course over Syria, would give the impression that you shouldn't be so optimistic, but instead you are, as far as business is concerned.
Yes. This has been going on for the past months. But despite everything else, the Minister of Trade came to Turkey, Mr. Ross, and then during the New York meetings, during the UN meetings in New York, we had the 10th annual conference where we had more work done among the companies for the $100 billion perspective. And already the sectors has been identified. And because of the US-China trade wars, there are some sectors that like furniture, like white goods, like many others, that we see the Turkish companies could really do exports to US. And US companies has really shown a lot of interest in the energy sectors and in the chemical sector. So if you really make some micro studies, we see that there's a lot of potential to be done. If you talk for my sector, for example, the infrastructure and the construction, where the Turkish companies are very powerful outside Turkey, we see a huge potential in the infrastructure and the construction sectors in US as well. So if you look at the micro sectors, there are huge potential. Currently, we are at only 23 billion, but 10 years ago, we were like 7 billion. And including the sectors or services, we are around $29 billion. And there's much more to do there if we really work in the micro levels as well. Yes, there are threats. Yes, there's always talks on the politics or F-35s and S-400s and so forth. But on the backside, there's still much work being done on the private sector level as well. And I think that business interactions and this business relations will help the politics as well.
Okay. Ebru Ozdemir, thanks so much for joining us. Great to have you.